A state of emergency has been declared in Georgia. This is due to violent protests, violent riots that are breaking out and are expected to continue. Also, Memphis, Tennessee is looking at a riot situation and might declare a state of emergency as well. Thousands of National Guard troops have been activated, and SWAT team and SWAT police are now on the streets of America in Atlanta, Georgia. All right. One step closer to a police state, one step closer to it hitting the fan. So you can see here, Yahoo News, Governor Kemp declares 15-day state of emergency after violent protests just today, January 26, 2023. And if you saw my video before, massive protests are going on. You can see here a bank has been busted out. We'll get to that in just a second. But you can see here Brian Kemp has declared a 15-day state of emergency in Georgia and deployed the National Guard in anticipation of continued protests over a proposed Atlanta training facility. And it says Kemp has asked that 1,000 Georgia National Guard troops be made available by the Georgia Department of Defense. You can also see here that Georgia State Patrol had to clear protesters out of a facility that they've been camping out for months. This is Georgia State property, and these protesters, rioters, looters, whatever you want to call them, have been camping out for months on state property. How are they even getting away with this? And it says the order grants the governor the authority to empower the National Guard to subdue a riot and unlawfully assembly. So Georgia is bracing for riots, and they have good cause. All right. Look at what's already happened in Georgia. This is a Wells Fargo Bank. I was talking about the bank before on my last video about these Georgia riots right when it happened, but I didn't have any pictures of it. All right, here are pictures of this Wells Fargo Bank, and you can see the FDIC little bank logo down there in the bottom right. And the windows have been busted out at a Wells Fargo Bank, and they're saying because this bank has essentially donated money to this cause that they don't like. All right, so this is what they're gonna do. All right, and just to get a feel of what these nice young men and women, these you would invite these people to your house, right? Wouldn't you want these people over? Black hoodies, black mask, black shoes, all black, big gang of people wearing all black and carrying signs saying "Stop Cop City" and destroying banks and lighting cop cars on fire. We'll get to all that stuff in just a second, but you know, you'd invite these people over, right? They look like just some good, hardworking young folks, all right? No big deal. Not dystopian having gangs of black-clad people where you can't see their face running around destroying buildings. It's not dystopian at all. All right, here's the ATM that they also smashed outside of this Wells Fargo Bank. So good luck getting your cash out. This is just another reason why you should have cash. We could see cyber attacks on banks, but we could also see physical attacks on banks as well. All right, my bank that I go to, there's a indoor area to go, and you're supposed to be able to swipe your debit card, all right, to get in there. And you're only supposed to be able to get in there if you're a bank customer. But inside there, and it's just like an ATM inside. You've probably seen this all over the place, all right? But there's a lot of people who just made it their hangout spot, and there's just people literally doing drugs in there in the middle of the day in the ATM, all right? This is my local ATM. That's what I have to deal with. I have to literally just stand in the drive-through area so I don't, I don't know. There's just people literally doing drugs in the little ATM thing that's supposed to be secure for you. All right, so we're moving into a dystopia, and I feel bad. These people. I'm not trying to be a big hater or something, but it's crazy. All right, this is my bank, and there's people doing drugs inside, and this bank here is smashed. All right, smashed. And these people, they're good people. You'd invite them over to your house, wouldn't you? All right, and here's another pic. This is not Fallujah. This is not Fallujah. All right, this is not the Middle East. This is not Iraq. This is not Afghanistan. This is Atlanta, Georgia, and this is the Atlanta Police Department, the SWAT department. This isn't even the National Guard. This is what our police departments look like in modern day America. This looks like a war zone, right? It looks like they're ready to go to war. This is the SWAT team. They're more loaded up than the National Guard are. Most of the time, the National Guard, doesn't even have weapons on them, right? A lot of times they're doing civil work, things like that, but the SWAT teams are on the streets in Atlanta as well right now, ready to go, all right, and prepared for this state of emergency. So what's going on, guys? You can see here this cop car was also burned as well, all right, and it was also burned right outside of a Chase, suffered some damage. So multiple banks suffered damage from this riot. And we're also seeing alerts for Memphis, Tennessee. I don't want to get too much in the details because it's one of those things I'm not supposed to talk about on YouTube. But there's a lot of stuff going on in Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee, and just look it up. They're anticipating massive riots in Tennessee as well. All right, and it's just strange how these things are always coordinated. They always happen at the same time. If you didn't see my video yesterday, there's massive riots in Peru going on, and they're attacking pipelines, they're attacking government buildings. All of these riots and all these protests normally happen around the same time. And I mean, this is organized. These people didn't just show up looking like this. They had a plan. This is a group. They have a uniform. They all dress the same. They all had to go buy their shoes and their face masks. You know what I mean? The normal person doesn't just have black pants, black shoes, black, all this stuff lying around, black gloves to cover their entire body. All right, this is organized, and this is coming from somewhere. We've seen this before where people are like bust in. You know what I mean? We have people bust in from out of state, and even the mayor of Atlanta was saying that most of these people from these protests are from out of state. They're not even from Georgia at all. Right? They're coming from out of state and agitating and messing up Atlanta, Georgia. It's just who's organizing this, who's funding this, who's paying for this. That's what I would like to see behind the scenes, what's really going on with these protests and these riots that can just pop up at a moment's notice with these almost crime syndicates, these crime groups. These are almost like little syndicates throughout the country that can just move throughout the country and cause chaos in any major city, right? And a lot of people label them Antifa or things like that, and that's definitely a real organization. But it's this could be anyone. This could be anything. Who's really controlling these people and funding them and telling them where to go, right? Who's telling them to go to Atlanta, Georgia, and cause chaos and protest these cops? I mean, they kind of line up with the Antifa agenda. They've set up autonomous zones in Seattle, Washington before. We've seen whole autonomous zones. Remember that a couple years ago? It was like this summer of love, all this stuff, and there was an autonomous zone set up in Washington for months, and people were living inside of this zone in their own houses. They weren't able to access their own house and their own businesses, and the government wouldn't provide them access. The police wouldn't provide them access. These groups that look very similar to this group here, they would just cut people off. They'd make you know what I'm talking about, all right? This autonomous zone, they'd make just a line around, and it looks very dystopian. By the way, it looks like a giant, like hippie commune. Looks dirty. Looks right. Doesn't look fun at all. It looks like they're struggling. They're starving. There's no food. They'll be showering. All this stuff, right? And they were also riddled with crime, because look at the people establishing these zones and these areas, all right? And stuff like this already happens in Europe. There's tons of different zones. There's like no-go zones in Europe all over the place, all right, that are controlled, and certain people are not allowed in them, all right? So are we going to see certain zones like this set up in the U.S.? Are we going to see these groups used to cause chaos, all right? Who's paying these people? What do they do? How do they have money to travel out of state and come to Atlanta and cause chaos and get arrested, post bail? How do they waste their time in Atlanta for court, all this stuff? How do they have time and money to do this? Who's paying them? Who's organizing this? This looks like an organized group. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Get prepared. Get out the cities. Get self-defense for yourself and for your home and for your family. Get cameras. Get all that stuff, right? Make sure you are protected, because you never know. All right, the temperature is rising. So thank you guys so much. Hit that like, hit that sub, hit those comments, and you have a big old blessed day.